Sam, have you seen this? I waved the bank book in front of him, my fingers trembling. He looked up from his laptop, his brow furrowed. What is it, Carol? I flipped the book open, pointing to the suspicious transactions. Look at these withdrawals. Thousands of dollars, all within the last month. And all from your mother's account. Sam stood up, his face pale. That can't be right. Mom said she was tight on money. That's why we've been helping her out. Exactly, I said, frustration bubbling in my chest. We've been giving her money every month, and now this? It doesn't add up. I remembered the early days of our relationship. When Sam and I were just starting out, we were both working hard, saving every penny, and yet we always made sure to send a little something to Louise. She was a widow after all, and we wanted to help. But now, looking at these transactions, I felt a gnawing doubt. Sam took the bank book from my hands, scanning the entries. I need to talk to her. Yeah, you do, I replied, crossing my arms. And we need to figure out what's really going on. Later that evening, Sam called Louise. I sat beside him, listening intently. Mom, I was looking at your bank statements, Sam began. There are some large withdrawals that I don't understand. There was a pause, and then Louise's voice crackled through the speakerphone. Oh, those? I was swindled, Sam. Some scam artist tricked me into giving them my bank information. I didn't want to worry you, so I didn't mention it. I exchanged a skeptical glance with Sam. Swindled? All those transactions? Yes, dear, Louise said, her voice dripping with innocence. I was so embarrassed. I'm just glad you found out before it got worse. Sam sighed, rubbing his temples. All right, Mom. We'll figure this out together. After the call ended, I turned to Sam. Do you believe her? I don't know, he admitted. But we can't just leave her in trouble. As we discussed how to help Louise, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Memories of the early days of our marriage flashed through my mind. How we'd scrimped and saved, always putting Louise's needs first. But now, I wondered if we had been too trusting. The next day, I decided to pay Louise a visit. When I arrived at her house, I was greeted by a pristine living room, filled with new furniture and expensive decor. Carol, what a surprise! Louise exclaimed, her eyes wide with feigned delight. I forced a smile. Hi, Louise. I just wanted to check on you after what Sam told me. Louise waved her hand dismissively. Oh, it's nothing really. Just a bit of bad luck. I nodded, my eyes scanning the room. Nice new couch. Did you get it recently? Louise hesitated for a moment. Oh, yes. A gift from an old friend. I raised an eyebrow. An old friend, huh? Must be a very generous friend. Louise's smile faltered. Yes, well, I've been lucky to have such kind people in my life. As I left, I couldn't shake the feeling that Louise was hiding something. When I got home, I shared my suspicions with Sam. Carol, you're overthinking this, he said, though his voice lacked conviction. Mom wouldn't lie to us. Maybe, I replied, but we need to be careful. Something doesn't add up. The tension between us grew over the next few days. Every time we discussed Louise, it ended in an argument. I could see the strain it was putting on our marriage, and it worried me. Then, one evening, Sam received a call from his Aunt Brenda. Sam, I need to talk to you about your mother, Brenda said, her voice serious. She's been asking me for money too. Sam's face went pale. What? She never mentioned that. I thought you should know, Brenda continued. Something's not right here. As Sam hung up the phone, he looked at me, his eyes filled with uncertainty. Carol, what are we going to do? We're going to get to the bottom of this, I said firmly. No more secrets. No more lies. And with that, we knew our journey to uncover the truth had only just begun. Carol, we need to talk. Sam's voice broke the uneasy silence in our living room. He held his phone like it was a ticking time bomb. Mom just called. She says she's been swindled again. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. What do you mean, again? We just went through this. She says someone tricked her into investing in a fake business. She's lost almost everything, Sam explained, his face a mask of worry. I felt a mix of anger and frustration rise within me. Sam, this is getting out of hand. How much does she need this time? She didn't say exactly, but it sounded bad, Sam replied, running a hand through his hair. She's asking for our help to pay off the debt. I stood up, pacing the room. We can't keep bailing her out, Sam. We have our own bills to pay, our own lives to manage. I know, but she's my mother, he said, his voice pleading. What else can we do? We need to get to the bottom of this, I said firmly. We need to find out if she's really being swindled, or if there's something else going on. Sam nodded, though I could see the conflict in his eyes. All right, let's talk to her together. The next day we drove to Louise's house. As we walked in, she greeted us with a tearful hug. Oh, Sam, Carol, I'm so glad you're here. Mom, we need to talk, Sam said, gently guiding her to the couch. Tell us exactly what happened. Louise wiped her eyes, her voice trembling. I met this man who said he had a great investment opportunity. He seemed so trustworthy, so I gave him the money. But then he disappeared, and now I'm left with nothing. I watched her closely, looking for any signs of deceit. How much did you give him, Louise? Almost all of it, she said, her voice breaking. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to burden you with this. I exchanged a glance with Sam. We'll help you, but we need to be sure this doesn't happen again. We need to look at your finances, understand what's really going on. Louise nodded, though I could see a flicker of something in her eyes. Was it guilt? Of course. Anything you need. As we delved into her financial records, more questions arose. There were transactions that didn't make sense, withdrawals that seemed excessive. The more we looked, the more it seemed like Louise wasn't telling us the whole truth. Later that evening, as we drove home, Sam was silent. I could tell he was struggling with the weight of the situation. Sam, we need to be honest with each other, I said softly. I think your mom is hiding something from us. He sighed, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. I know, Carol, but I don't know how to confront her without hurting her. We have to be strong, I replied. We can't let her manipulative behavior ruin our lives. The next day, as we were discussing our next steps, Sam's phone rang. It was Brenda. Sam, I need to talk to you about Louise, Brenda said, her voice urgent. She's been asking me for money too. Sam's eyes widened in shock. What? She never mentioned that. She's in deeper trouble than she's letting on, Brenda continued. I think she's been lying to all of us. As Sam hung up the phone, he looked at me, his face pale. Carol, what are we going to do? We need to confront her, I said, determination in my voice. No more secrets. No more lies. That evening, we sat Louise down again. Mom, we need the truth, Sam said firmly. Aunt Brenda told us you've been asking her for money too. Louise's face turned ashen. I didn't want to worry you, she stammered. I thought I could handle it. Handle it? I echoed, my frustration boiling over. You've been lying to us, manipulating us. We can't help you if you're not honest. Louise's eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were genuine. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. As we left that night, I knew our relationship with Louise had changed forever. The trust was broken, and the road ahead was uncertain. But one thing was clear. We had to protect ourselves from her manipulative ways, no matter the cost. Sam, we need to talk. Brenda's voice crackled through the phone. I could hear the urgency in her tone even from across the room. Sam put the call on speaker. What's going on, Aunt Brenda? It's about your mom, Brenda began. She's been asking me for money too, and I'm worried she's not being honest with anyone. I exchanged a knowing look with Sam. We had a feeling something was off, I said. But what can we do? Brenda sighed. I think we need to confront her together. She needs to understand that this can't go on. Later that evening, we gathered at Brenda's house. Louise arrived, looking nervous. What's this all about? She asked, her eyes darting between us. Mom, we need to talk about your finances, Sam said, his voice firm. Aunt Brenda told us you've been asking her for money too. Louise's face went pale. I didn't want to worry you, she stammered. I thought I could handle it. Handle it? Brenda echoed, her voice stern. You've been lying to us, Louise. We can't help you if you're not honest. Louise's eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were genuine. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. We need to see all your financial records, I said, stepping forward. No more secrets. Reluctantly, Louise handed over her documents. As we went through them, it became clear that she had been spending extravagantly, not just falling victim to scams. There were purchases from high-end stores, luxury items, and even a down payment on a new condo. Mom, how could you do this? Sam asked, his voice breaking. We've been struggling to help you, and you've been living it up? Louise's tears flowed freely now. I just wanted to live a little, to enjoy life. I didn't realize it would get so out of hand. Brenda shook her head. This has to stop, Louise. You need to take responsibility for your actions. As we left Brenda's house, I could see the weight of the situation pressing down on Sam. What are we going to do, Carol? He asked, his voice filled with despair. We need to cut her off, I said firmly. We can't keep enabling her behavior. The next day, Sam and I sat down with Louise again. Mom, we've decided that we can't give you any more financial support, Sam said, his voice steady. You need to figure this out on your own. Louise looked shocked. But I need your help. I can't do this alone. You have to, Mom, Sam replied. We can't keep sacrificing our own lives for your mistakes. As we walked away, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. We had taken a stand, but the road ahead was still uncertain. A few days later, Sam received a call from his father, Mike. Sam, I need to talk to you about your mother, Mike said, his voice serious. She's been asking me for money too. Sam's eyes widened in shock. What? She never mentioned that. I thought you should know, Mike continued. Something's not right here. As Sam hung up the phone, he looked at me, his face pale. Carol, what are we going to do? We're going to get to the bottom of this, I said firmly. No more secrets. No more lies. That evening, we sat Louise down again. Mom, we need the truth, Sam said firmly. Dad told us you've been asking him for money too. Louise's face turned ashen. I didn't want to worry you, she stammered. I thought I could handle it. Handle it? I echoed, my frustration boiling over. You've been lying to us, manipulating us. We can't help you if you're not honest. Louise's eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were genuine. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. As we left that night, I knew our relationship with Louise had changed forever. The trust was broken, and the road ahead was uncertain. But one thing was clear. We had to protect ourselves from her manipulative ways, no matter the cost. The next morning, as I sipped my coffee, the phone rang. It was Brenda again. Carol, I just found out something that might change everything, she said, her voice filled with urgency. What is it, Brenda? I asked, my heart pounding. Mom's been hiding a secret bank account, Brenda revealed. And it's got a lot of money in it. I felt a surge of anger. We need to confront her. This has gone on long enough. As I hung up the phone, I knew that our next move would be crucial. The truth was finally coming to light, and it was time to take decisive action. Sam, you need to see this, I said, my voice barely above a whisper as I handed him the printout of Louise's secret bank account statement. His eyes scanned the paper, growing wider with each line. This is a lot of money, Carol. How could she keep this from us? I don't know, I replied, my frustration boiling over. But we need to confront her. This is beyond deceitful. We drove to Louise's new condo, my heart pounding with a mix of anger and determination. When we arrived, the sight of the luxurious building only fueled my resolve. How could she live like this while pretending to be in financial ruin? Louise opened the door, her face a mask of surprise. Sam, Carol, what are you doing here? We need to talk, Sam said, his voice cold. Inside. As we stepped into the opulent living room, I couldn't help but notice the expensive furniture and decor. It was a stark contrast to the modest lifestyle she had always portrayed. "What's this about?" Louise asked, her voice trembling. "This," I said, thrusting the printout into her hands. "Your secret bank account. Care to explain?" Louise's face went pale. I can explain. "Please do," Sam said, his voice laced with sarcasm. "Because we're dying to know why you've been lying to us." Louise sank into a chair, tears welling in her eyes. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted to have a little security, something for myself." "Security?" I echoed, my anger flaring. "You've been living in luxury while we've been struggling to help you. This is beyond selfish, Louise." "I never asked you to struggle," she said, her voice breaking. "I just wanted to enjoy my life a little." "At our expense?" Sam asked, his voice rising. "You've been manipulating us, lying to us. How could you?" Louise's tears flowed freely now. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. We can't trust you anymore," I said, my voice firm. "We're cutting you off, Louise. No more financial support." Louise looked up, panic in her eyes. "But I need your help. I can't do this alone." "You have to," Sam replied, his voice steady. "We can't keep sacrificing our own lives for your lies." As we left the condo, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. We had taken a stand, but the road ahead was still uncertain. The next day, we sat down with Mike to discuss the situation. "Dad, we need to talk about Mom," Sam said, his voice heavy with emotion. Mike listened intently as we explained everything. The secret bank account, the lavish spending, the lies. "I had no idea," Mike said, shaking his head. "She always made it seem like she was struggling. She's been manipulating all of us," I said. "We need to stop enabling her behavior." Mike nodded. "You're right. We need to confront her together." That evening, we gathered at Mike's house. Louise arrived, looking nervous. "What's this all about?" she asked, her eyes darting between us. "Mom, we need to talk about your finances," Sam said, his voice firm. "Dad knows everything." Louise's face went ashen. I didn't want to worry you," she stammered. "I thought I could handle it." "Handle it?" Mike echoed, his voice stern. "You've been lying to us, Louise. This has to stop. We need to see all your financial records," I said, stepping forward. "No more secrets." Reluctantly, Louise handed over her documents. As we went through them, it became clear that she had been spending extravagantly, not just falling victim to scams. There were purchases from high-end stores, luxury items, and even a down payment on a new condo. "Mom, how could you do this?" Sam asked, his voice breaking. "We've been struggling to help you, and you've been living it up?" Louise's tears flowed freely now. "I just wanted to live a little, to enjoy life. I didn't realize it would get so out of hand." Brenda shook her head. "This has to stop, Louise. You need to take responsibility for your actions." As we left Brenda's house, I could see the weight of the situation pressing down on Sam. "What are we going to do, Carol?" he asked, his voice filled with despair. "We need to cut her off," I said firmly. "We can't keep enabling her behavior." The next morning, as I sipped my coffee, the phone rang. It was Brenda again. "Carol, I just found out something that might change everything," she said, her voice filled with urgency. "What is it, Brenda?" I asked, my heart pounding. "Mom's been hiding a secret bank account," Brenda revealed. "And it's got a lot of money in it." I felt a surge of anger. We need to confront her. This has gone on long enough. As I hung up the phone, I knew that our next move would be crucial. The truth was finally coming to light, and it was time to take decisive action. "Sam, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but my heart racing. We were sitting at our kitchen table, the weight of the past few weeks pressing down on us. He looked up from his coffee, exhaustion evident in his eyes. "What now, Carol? We can't keep doing this. We're broke, and your mother's lies have put us in a terrible position." I began, taking his hand. "We need to cut her off financially." Sam sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know you're right, but it's not that simple. She's my mother. She's been manipulating us, Sam. We have to protect ourselves. I insisted. We need to expose her duplicity to your dad. He deserves to know the truth too. Sam nodded reluctantly. All right, let's call him. Later that evening, we sat down with Mike. The tension was palpable as we laid out the evidence. Louise's secret bank account, her extravagant spending, and her manipulative behavior. Mike listened intently, his face growing grimmer with each revelation. I had no idea, he said finally, shaking his head. She always made it seem like she was struggling. She's been lying to all of us, I said. We need to stop enabling her behavior. Mike nodded. You're right. We need to confront her together. The next day, we gathered at Mike's house. Louise arrived, looking nervous. What's this all about? She asked, her eyes darting between us. Mom, we need to talk about your finances, Sam said, his voice firm. Dad knows everything. Louise's face went ashen. I didn't want to worry you, she stammered. I thought I could handle it. Handle it? Mike echoed, his voice stern. You've been lying to us, Louise. This has to stop. We need to see all your financial records, I said, stepping forward. No more secrets. Reluctantly, Louise handed over her documents. As we went through them, it became clear that she had been spending extravagantly, not just falling victim to scams. There were purchases from high-end stores, luxury items, and even a down payment on a new condo. Mom, how could you do this? Sam asked, his voice breaking. We've been struggling to help you, and you've been living it up? Louise's tears flowed freely now. I just wanted to live a little, to enjoy life. I didn't realize it would get so out of hand. We can't trust you anymore, I said, my voice firm. We're cutting you off, Louise. No more financial support. Louise looked up, panic in her eyes. But I need your help. I can't do this alone. You have to, Sam replied, his voice steady. We can't keep sacrificing our own lives for your lies. As we left Mike's house, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. We had taken a stand, but the road ahead was still uncertain. The next morning, Brenda called. Carol, I've been looking into some things, she said, her voice serious. I think we can legally sell the condo. It's in Sam's name, after all. Are you sure? I asked, my heart racing. That could be the solution we need. Positive, Brenda replied. We need to act fast before Louise does something drastic. That evening, Sam and I sat down to discuss our next move. Selling the condo could solve a lot of our problems, I said. But it's a big step. Are you ready for this? Sam nodded, determination in his eyes. We need to take control of the situation. Let's do it. The next day, we contacted a realtor and began the process of selling the condo. It felt like a weight was being lifted off our shoulders, but I knew the hardest part was yet to come, confronting Louise. When we finally called her, she was furious. You can't do this, she screamed over the phone. That's my home. It's in my name, Mom, Sam replied calmly. We have to sell it to pay off your debts. This is the only way. Louise's voice broke. Please don't do this. I'll be left with nothing. You brought this on yourself, I said, my voice steady. We have to protect ourselves. As we hung up, I felt a mixture of relief and dread. We had made a crucial decision, but the fallout was just beginning. The next morning, we received a call from the realtor. We have an offer on the condo, she said. It's a good one. Are you ready to move forward? Sam and I exchanged a glance. Yes, he said firmly. Let's do it. As we finalized the sale, I couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication. We had taken a stand, protected ourselves, and exposed Louise's lies. But I knew the battle was far from over. We had to stay vigilant, ready for whatever came next. The phone rang, slicing through the tense silence in our living room. I glanced at Sam, who was staring at the screen, his face a mixture of dread and determination. It was Louise. Answer it, I urged, my heart pounding. We need to face this. Sam took a deep breath and pressed the green button. Mom, he said, his voice steady. We need to talk. Sam, How could you do this to me? Louise's voice was a mixture of fury and desperation. Selling my home without telling me? I thought you loved me. It's not your home, Mom, Sam replied, his tone cold. It's in my name, and we had no choice. You've left us no choice. You're abandoning me. Louise cried. I have nothing left. You have plenty, I interjected, unable to stay silent any longer. You've been hiding money from us, manipulating us. This has to stop. Louise's voice turned icy. You're both going to regret this. Goodbye, Mom, Sam said, ending the call. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a mix of relief and sorrow. We did the right thing, right? We did, I assured him, squeezing his hand. But we need to stay strong. She's not going to make this easy. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. The condo sale went through quickly, and the funds were transferred to pay off Louise's debts. It felt like a victory, but I knew the battle was far from over. Then, one evening, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Louise standing there, her eyes blazing with anger. You think you can just cut me off and leave me with nothing? She spat. Mom, we had no choice, Sam said, stepping forward. You've been lying to us, manipulating us. We can't keep enabling you. Louise's face twisted with rage. You're going to regret this, she hissed. I'll make sure of it. Please, just go, I said, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and determination. We need to protect ourselves. Louise stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I turned to Sam, my heart racing. What are we going to do? We have to stay strong, he said, pulling me into a hug. We can't let her control us anymore. The next day, Brenda called. Carol, I think we need to take legal action, she said. Louise is out of control, and we need to protect ourselves. What do you have in mind? I asked, my heart pounding. We can get a restraining order, Brenda suggested. It's drastic, but it might be the only way to keep her at bay. I relayed the conversation to Sam, who nodded in agreement. It's not what I want, but it might be what we need, he said, his voice heavy with sadness. We met with a lawyer the next day, laying out our case. The lawyer listened intently, nodding as we explained the situation. I think you have a strong case, she said finally. We can file for a restraining order, but it's going to be a tough process. We're ready, I said, determination in my voice. We have to do this. The following weeks were a blur of legal proceedings and emotional turmoil. Louise fought back fiercely, denying everything and painting us as the villains. It was exhausting, but we knew we had to stay strong. Finally, the day of the hearing arrived. We sat in the courtroom, our nerves on edge. Louise glared at us from across the room, her eyes filled with hatred. The judge listened to both sides, then finally spoke. Based on the evidence presented, I am granting the restraining order, he said. Louise, you are to have no contact with Sam and Carol. As the gavel came down, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. We had done it. We had taken a stand and protected ourselves. But as we left the courtroom, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was far from over. Louise's parting words echoed in my mind. You're going to regret this. We had won the battle, but the war was still raging. And I knew we had to be ready for whatever came next. The days following the court hearing were a whirlwind of tension and uncertainty. Sam and I tried to settle back into our routine, but the shadow of Louise's threat loomed over us. Every unexpected knock on the door or ring of the phone set my heart racing. One evening, as we were sitting down to dinner, Brenda called. Sam put the call on speaker, and I could hear the urgency in her voice. Sam, Carol, you need to come over. Now, she said. What's wrong? Sam asked, his voice tight with worry. It's Louise. She's here, and she's refusing to leave. We need to talk, Brenda replied. We grabbed our coats and rushed out the door, the tension between us palpable. When we arrived at Brenda's house, we found Louise sitting in the living room, her eyes filled with defiance. What are you doing here, Mom? Sam demanded, his voice shaking with anger. You're not supposed to be anywhere near us. I'm not here for you, Louise snapped. I'm here to talk to Brenda. Brenda stepped forward, her expression stern. Louise, you need to leave. You're violating the restraining order. I'm not leaving until I get what's mine, Louise insisted. You can't just take everything from me. We didn't take anything from you, I said, my voice trembling with fury. You did this to yourself. Louise's eyes narrowed. You think you're so righteous, don't you? But you'll see. You'll all see. Brenda crossed her arms, unyielding. Louise, if you don't leave, I'll have no choice but to call the police. Louise stood up, her face twisted with rage. Fine, but this isn't over. As she stormed out, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. How much more of this can we take? I asked, turning to Sam. We have to stay strong, he said, pulling me into a hug. We can't let her win. The next morning, we received a call from the realtor. Sam, Carol, we've hit a snag with the condo sale, she said, her voice apologetic. Louise has filed a claim against it, saying it was purchased with her money. What? I exclaimed, my heart sinking. But it's in Sam's name. How can she do that? She's claiming that the money used to buy it was hers, and that Sam only put it in his name to help her, the realtor explained. We'll need to resolve this before we can proceed with the sale. I felt a surge of anger and frustration. She's trying to sabotage us, I said, my voice shaking. We need to fight this. Sam nodded, determination in his eyes. We'll get our lawyer on it. We can't let her win. The next few weeks were a blur of legal battles and emotional turmoil. Louise fought back fiercely, using every trick in the book to delay the sale. It felt like we were constantly on edge, waiting for the next blow. One evening, as we were reviewing documents with our lawyer, Sam's phone rang. It was Mike. Sam, I need to tell you something, Mike said, his voice heavy with guilt. I've been sending money to your mom too. I thought she needed it, but now I realize I was just enabling her. Sam's face went pale. Dad, why didn't you tell us? I didn't want to worry you, Mike admitted. But now I see that I was just making things worse. We'll need to include this in our case, our lawyer said, her expression serious. It shows a pattern of manipulation. As we continued to prepare for the legal battle ahead, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were reaching a breaking point. The constant stress was taking its toll, and I could see the strain in Sam's eyes. One night, as we lay in bed, I turned to him. Sam, what if we can't win this? What if she takes everything from us? We won't let that happen, he said, his voice filled with determination. We've come too far to give up now. The next morning, we received a call from Brenda. I've been doing some digging, she said, her voice filled with urgency. I found proof that Louise's claims are false. She didn't use her money to buy the condo. It was all Sam's. That's the break we needed, I said, feeling a glimmer of hope. We can finally put an end to this. As we prepared for the final showdown in court, I knew that everything was at stake. We had to stay strong, to fight for our future. And no matter what, we couldn't let Louise win. The day of the hearing arrived, and we walked into the courtroom with our heads held high. This was it, the moment that would determine our fate. And as I took Sam's hand, I knew that we were ready for whatever came next. The courtroom was silent as we waited for the judge to deliver his verdict. My heart pounded in my chest, and I squeezed Sam's hand for reassurance. We had fought so hard to get here, and now everything hinged on this moment. The evidence presented shows a clear pattern of deceit and manipulation. The judge began, his voice echoing through the room. The condo was purchased with funds from Sam's account, and Louise's claims are unfounded. Therefore, I rule in favor of Sam and Carol. A wave of relief washed over me, and I felt tears of joy welling up in my eyes. We had done it. We had won. Louise's face twisted with rage as she stormed out of the courtroom. Brenda, standing beside us, placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. You did it, she said softly. You stood up for yourselves. As we left the courthouse, I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. The weight of Louise's manipulation was finally lifting, and for the first time, I could see a future without her toxic influence. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of change. Louise was forced to sell the condo, and the proceeds went towards paying off her debts. It was a humbling experience for her, and for the first time, she had to take responsibility for her actions. Brenda stepped in to help manage the transition, ensuring that Louise found a modest apartment and a part-time job. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Louise needed to learn how to stand on her own 2 feet. One evening, as Sam and I were packing up our belongings, preparing to move to a new city for a fresh start, I felt a wave of nausea. I brushed it off at first, but when it persisted, I decided to take a pregnancy test. The result was positive. "Sam," I called, my voice trembling with a mix of excitement and fear. "I have something to tell you." He rushed into the bathroom, his eyes wide with concern. "What is it, Carol?" I held up the test, tears streaming down my face. "We're going to have a baby." A look of pure joy spread across Sam's face, and he pulled me into a tight embrace. "This is amazing, Carol." Our fresh start just got even better. As we settled into our new home, the reality of our new life began to sink in. We were free from Louise's manipulation, and we had a bright future ahead of us. The struggles we had faced had only made us stronger, and now we were ready to build a life filled with love and hope. One afternoon, as we were unpacking boxes, I found an old photo album. Flipping through the pages, I was reminded of the early days of our relationship, the love and support that had brought us together. Despite everything, we had persevered. "Look at this," I said, showing Sam a picture of us from our wedding day. "We've come so far." He smiled, wrapping his arm around me. "We have, and we're just getting started." As the months passed, we prepared for the arrival of our baby. It was a time of joy and anticipation, and we made a promise to each other to protect our child from the toxic influences that had once plagued our lives. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Sam turned to me. "I'm so grateful for everything we've been through," he said. "It's made us who we are." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "We're stronger because of it. And now, we have a chance to create a better future for our family." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We had faced our demons, stood up for ourselves, and emerged stronger on the other side. And now, we were ready to embrace the future with open hearts and unbreakable resolve. Our journey had been filled with challenges, but it had also brought us closer together. And as we prepared to welcome our child into the world, I knew that we were finally at peace, ready to build a life filled with love, hope, and endless possibilities.